this whole conversation today is designed to make sure that whoever listens to the conversation will be able to pick something to use so that they can get things out of their head and put onto their hearts and have a different life. All right.
Sounds good.
Hey. And I want to congratulate you on your book and knowing that you are writing the second book. You know what? I do. Yeah. Congratulations for that. That is something amazing. So I look forward to reading it. Okay, my friend.
I will send you over a copy. And we're also doing the audio version.
Hmm.
Uh, the book is a short read, and it's about anyone who wants to conquer sales. And I've read a lot of book in sales, and they've a lot of stories, and they fill a lot of the pages to bulk the books up. So
Hmm.
I made a conscious decision to take stuff out of the book and make it very concise and have it as a step-by-step process that someone can look at to actually be a great deal closer.
Wow. And before we talk about the book, let me go back to uh, what our audiences want first, which is a little bit knowing about you. So in our culture, Joe, you came here in 2010. You know that our people really, really, really happy and honor if they can have you to share a little bit about who you are and the works you are doing. Please help us do that.
Well, I used to have that ego and run around, and I've done this and I've done that. But the reality of it, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm just an ordinary person, a man who's, navigating through life and enjoying the journey. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur, for many, many years. I believe I'm a creative thinker. Um, and what I love is I love communication, and I love
Mm.
speaking to people, and I love, sharing ideas. And by doing that has carved out a life for me on my own terms that I enjoy. And I have clients over the globe, and I've worked all over the globe. I've even got as far as doing some business in Guam many, many years ago. Spending time on my honeymoon in Vietnam, and it's a very special place. And it's even funny. I think I have some artwork here, which I picked up from Vietnam as well. A picture. So yeah, it's nice to be here, and it's nice to communicate and talk with your audience as well.
Wow, wow. And for many, many years as entrepreneur, working with clients all over the world. Joe, you have so many stories. You read so many books about selling. You have people to optimize their business and grow the business. So, what has changed in the last 2 years that you wrote your first book and the audible part will also come in? I believe that you also said that you are working on the second book also. So, tell us where's all of that wisdom coming?
Someone on LinkedIn asked me last week. They said to me, "says What inspires you to write the book?"
Mm,
And it stopped me in my tracks, because I was, why did I want to write the book? Now I could have sent a message back to him. Oh, it's to do this and do that, and to save the world, and I kind of went, that's my ego talking, and I had to kind of pull back and say, why did I write the book? And I was upstairs, and I was having a moment of quietness, and when you have those moments of quietness, those things come to you. And it just came to me after, you just want to share. So I
mm,
wrote the book to share. I wrote the book to share with people information that they may find benefit to help them. And then there may be some people out there that can't afford my services, that can read the book and help them on their way. And maybe one day by reading the book, their business will improve, and they'll be able to use my services then. And then it's for other people that can access or tap into my wisdom and knowledge over, the decades. But I wrote it to share. I wrote it to share.
Wow. And sharing is caring, right? Everybody has a story. Everybody has the experience that can be transferable to other people. Whoever it's a knowledge. So whoever be able to use it will benefit from it, right?
Yeah, it's knowledge. Do you know what I learned something, not learned, something that came to me, and I'm trying to practice it. And it's in life, life can overtake us. And, if you have children or you have people in your workforce, there's a thing that I'm sort of looking at, and there's a difference between reacting and responding. And reacting is when something happens, we don't think, we just act. We say stuff, we act in it. And the world and society has created us to react. And you can see that on social media. People get triggered on certain things and they react. But it's not about reacting, because that's the way, the world wants us to be.
Hmm.
About responding. So, and I'm trying to get it to myself is that when something happens, don't react. Even small things like, the kids may say, I want this, and you go, no, you can't, and you may react. Or someone, says something, you react from an ego point of view. Or there's a, oh. But if you stop and have a little, say, let's respond to this. When you're responding, you're not speaking from the head like you are when you react, but you're actually speaking from somewhere else. And I think if people focus on not reacting, but instead responding, I think things in their life will slightly change as well. Excuse me.
Wow. Wow. That's wisdom right there. All right. Let's go to the basic, Joe. Okay. The topic is about wisdom, and each of us have our own definition of what it is. Is a wisdom, right? So we want to understand from your word, your perspective, your own definition. So, Joe, what is that wisdom? How is it defined to you?
Well, wisdom to me is life experience and being able to understand or comprehend what right from wrong. I'm a true believer that men are here to look after and protect our women and children, so they feel safe walking on the streets. And I'm also realized that in my wisdom that there's an awful lot of weak men out there. And sometimes weak men are the most dangerous. And I battled with looking at the world as I see it, and knowing that there is goodness in the world as well. And we have to check in all the time and ask ourselves, what do we need? What do we want? And what do we have?
Mm.
And for me, wisdom comes with an experience of learning through the years. So I'm in business, God, nearly 3.5 decades. And with that, I have a bank of knowledge and experience that I, can advise and help people. And wisdom, it's a process. I think wisdom is a process. You can say, if I knew what I knew now 10 years ago, wow, life would be amazing. But
Mm.
10 years' time, you'll go, oh my God, if I knew what I knew now 10 years ago, life would be amazing. So it's a bit of a journey. But I think wisdom is for me personally, it's an experience. Well, yeah,
Mm.
wisdom is an experience.
Wow. So if I knew you 15 years ago, probably we're gonna have a summertime together for a cup of coffee along around Ho Chi Minh City or Hoi An or Da Nang, my hometown, right? So
Yeah.
our relationship is also a process and experience also, Joe. So and when you say it's a process and an experience, right? So there will be something that impacting on that process to maybe slow down it or speed it up. So and we want to help the people to go into the journey of Buddhism faster and being able to bring that onto their lives as early as possible, as quick as possible. Is there a way that we can speed up the process in
Yeah.
your experience? Yes. Please
Yeah.
share with us.
And it's probably what most people may not think it is.
What is that?
It's the pause between the breath.
Pause between the breath.
So everything that you have or everything that you need to know is within us. And sometimes we need to stop. And that pause between the breath is where we find our answers. Because in every situation, you can have a, react, that knee-jerk reaction. Something happens and you get triggered. Where it's the stopping and the pausing and going, okay, I see what's in front of me. But what I need to do is let it sit where it is and don't give it that energy which may trigger it and send it off into the wrong direction. So just sit with it, and eventually that right decision comes up to you and you know what to do next.
Earlier, when you said about wisdom, is that what's right versus what's wrong, right? So and then now is what we want to do versus what we need to do are totally different, and that lies in the pause between our breath, right? And you say that the world are designed to make us react instead of respond. So majority of us won't have the knowledge nor the skills to be able to equip ourselves be able to respond instead of to react. React become an instant response, instantly, right? What baby steps can we learn now, and so that in the future we will gradually move away from reacting and more toward responding, Joe?
Catching yourself when you are reacting. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it's your brain is a muscle, treated like a muscle, and it's being fed all the information, and your body and your muscles create memory. And from anyone that does martial arts, they know that there's muscle memory. So over the of your lifetime, no matter what age you are, your body is collecting all this. So what you need to do is not learn, you need to unlearn.
Mm.
So you need to unlearn all the things that would have triggered you to react. And you need to practice and catch yourself. And instead of reacting, just go, hang on. I'm going to respond. And you won't get it right all the time. That's life. Life is a journey. Life is not meant to be all wonderful. Life is meant to be an experience. But it's what you do with that experience to see where you can improve your life and how things can be better. And would you rather react and run down the road screaming and shouting like a lunatic?
Mm.
Would you like to walk down the road with ease, going, I've got this and everything is okay? And doing that, you're taking that fear out of your mind. And it's like anxiety. Anxiety is in the body. It's not in the mind. So you need to move the body to get the away from anxiety. But you also need to, if something triggers you, example, if you have a negative, something happens to you, right? This is for the audience. If something happens to you, where do you see it? So do you see it is it a voice in your head that's going, this is really bad, oh my God, I don't know what to do. It's a voice in your head. It's up around here somewhere. And you have to kind of go, okay, that voice is screaming. Why don't I make that voice softer? And make it softer and softer and softer so it gets like a whisper that I can hardly hear it. And then grabbing it and not pulling it down to your heart and trying to see how would that feel if I can hardly hear that feeling, but bring a feeling that is opposite to it into my heart and let myself live by a feeling. So we need to, for wisdom, it's not about voice in your head. It's about going with your feelings.
Mm.
And if someone practices that mindfully every day, things just, micro, they'll get better and better and better and better. And like for me, I'm in my mid-50s. And I'm often asked, how do I feel? What is my life like? I'm content.
Content is a very, very big word, and it's something that a lot of people don't have. So, in the world full of noises, right? And the noises around us will come to our head first. So our head is a kitchen with so many, like ingredients and everything ready for it to be cooked, and it move into our hearts. And a lot of people won't be able to know how to, like you say earlier. So make it softer, and becoming a whisper, and then move it to your heart. Beside the mindfulness practices, things like that, what else that, Joe, you think that we could do to help us to strengthen our ability to move, things outside of our head and slowly move into our heart?
Yeah, I think it's about process of going, how do I feel? And what is the opposite to that negative feeling? If that's, and how would I feel if if it wasn't as loud, and trying to replace it for something else? Because the world out there is irrelevant. It's what's going on inside you is important. And once you can realize that all the external stuff doesn't matter, the bills, global warming, whatever is in your eyesight, none of it really matters because it'll all work out in the end, because that's life and Mother Nature. But even if there's something tragic happening. It's external. You need to really kind of go, okay, internally, the internal spirit, the grace, that is where that feeling. So what I'm trying to get at or say is go with your gut, go with your feelings instead of your thoughts.
Mm.
And have a thought, a voice. Ask yourself, what is the feeling behind that? And what happens if I can change it to a good feeling and bring that feeling into my heart? What is it? And you know, I'm often asked then in business, what are the things that we need to do to be successful in business? And I'm a big lover of systems, processes, and behaviors. And when you look at systems, processes, and behavior, they boil down to one thing: giving you clarity.
Mm.
So if you create a system in all parts of your life, and we have systems without us actually realizing we have systems and processes. So we get up in the morning, and you either get up in the morning, go to the bathroom, jump in the shower, then brush your teeth, and then have breakfast. Or you may have a system and a process that you get up, you brush your teeth, have a shower, get a cup of coffee, and then brush it, and then go downstairs or whatever. Subconsciously, in our lives, we have systems, processes, and behaviors. What time we eat our dinner at, what time we go to bed at. So if you look at it, we have these already. And in business, if you want to be successful in business, you have to look at your systems, your processes, and behaviors as well. And the reason why you go through life with getting up, having your shower, having your breakfast, whatever it may be, your dinner, going to bed, that's your behavior. And you do that because it's very clear to yourself of what you need to do.
Mm.
And what one needs to do is, in business, if you're trying to be successful, or in life, or in an employee, or whatever, you need to look at, okay, not how can I be better? How can I be a better person? How can I be better at work? It's about investing in yourself and looking at what is the system, what is the process, and what is my behavior. And when you do these things, you actually then write them down, look at them, and focus, going, okay, how do I feel about these? And if you
Mm.
feel good about them, you go, yeah, I feel good about this. I really feel good about this. This is it a feeling of fulfillment? Is a feeling of joy? Is it a feeling of happiness? You go, okay, let me do it. And you need to then remember what I said about the mind, the feeling, the body, the muscle memory, doing all that to change one's habits to live that better life. So you
Wow.
question, how does someone speed it up? Practice. First, know what you want, know what you need, know what you have, and then write it down and go, okay, this is where I want to be. And then work towards that.
Wow. Wow. You said the clarity, understanding is very clearly, and then the system, the process, and the behavior, and if we know, from the beginning what we want, what we have, and I want to bring you back to what we want. Okay? Because along the way, speaking to so many people and been interacting with a lot of people, I come to realize, maybe I'm wrong, that a lot of us don't really know what we want. We don't have the clarity of what we want. Okay? And again, the society, the media is designing to create so many noise anchors in different directions. So knowing what we want becoming a huge challenge for a lot of people. Okay, so if we don't know what we want, how can we make, into the next stage of the behavior and the feelings, what's right or wrong, what's good or bad, how I'm feeling. So, and perhaps that is really really a big challenge for us to tackle if people want to get wiser, be more body of wisdom for themselves. So I want to go to that direction, Joe. What can we, do to get to the point of knowing of what we truly, truly want in life?
Ask yourself. We can sit down and we can make a list of all the things we want. During COVID, we had lockdown, so
Mm,
we couldn't, everything was closed. And, someone said, oh, I'd love to go to a coffee bar and have a coffee. And I'd be asking them, you want to go? And they'd be frustrated because they couldn't go. And I was saying to them, what do you need? Oh, I'd love a coffee. And I said, you can make a coffee at home. You could sit in the garden or sit in, on a step outside and have a coffee and look at the nature. Because that's what you need. You may want all this, but this is what you need. And I remember I was in a big, huge shopping mall, and all the shops were closed. And the shopping mall is one of the biggest in Ireland. It's called Dundrum Shopping Centre. And the ladies' hairdresser was open, and I was coming down an escalator, and I was watching people walk around, and the people were getting their hair done or they were buying some clothes, but all the restaurants were closed, all the bars were closed, all the cinemas were closed. And I felt this energy that the people were buying stuff to fill a gap, but they had nowhere to go. So they were doing this to feel happy, but they couldn't go for a meal, or they couldn't go to the cinema, or couldn't go, but they were trying to fill an emptiness inside. So that comes back to clarity of what you want. A lot of us feel we want. The ego will say we want the big house, or the ego will say we want to, have our own private jet. That's the ego. But what do you really want? You want to have a happy life. You want to be able to provide for your family. You want to not worry about bills. You want to take vacations. You want to live a life of fulfillment. A life of, as I said, being content. So you start off with, what do I really, really want? And start looking at that. And then making the list of what you have and appreciate what you have. Beautiful home, an amazing wife, great kids, lovely country. And then looking at that and using the gratitude that you have from that to creating what you want. And that may be, I want to give them everything. I want to provide in every way. But you need to start somewhere that is comfortable for yourself, because your wants can't go from here to here
Mm.
because you're not prepared for it. People aren't prepared for it. So they need to do those, what is it I need to do, the steps. Don't know if you can see my hands, but the steps on it. And
We
it's,
see,
yeah.
we see your hands, so we see the step there. Because you experience his, you have people to grow through your work, so it's easier for an experienced person to say about, okay, ask for what you want, right? So in case that our audience are young, our audience are all ages differently, and they might have some difficulty to answer that simple question. And I don't think that asking for what we want is a simple question too. So if they don't know how to find out the answer, the good answer, the answer that can help them to steer into the good directions, where else can they find help, Joe?
Well, I remember I was young, and I can remember there was times in my life when I thought everything was falling apart.
Mm.
And you kind of look back now, you go, that was nothing. But I always say when people are in difficulty or they're in that, how do I find that? You're allowed to start from scratch every day. Every day you're allowed to hit that big red button and go, today is a new day. And ask yourselves this question. What can I do right now in this moment of time that changes the direction of how I feel and what I need to do? And you hit that big buzzer and restart. What can I do right now? So does anyone listening that is in difficulty in any way, ask yourself, what can I do right now in this moment of time to change what's going on? And I guarantee you that you'll come up with something.
Wow, wow, Joe, for your life, since when you you came to realize the importance of listening to your heart, take things out of your head and transfer into your heart and let your heart lead the way. At what age and what happened that made you came to that realization though?
A life journey.
Hmm.
I've always been fascinated in the world that we live in and the construct that we live in. And, there's questions that always come up with me was, why do we live in a construct where animals eat animals for, to survive? And, there's sacrifice and there's wars and everything. And it's a bit weird that we live in this garden, this wonderful construct, this earth that has that. And I started to ask myself questions. It's a lot of people ask, the biggest question that people ask, what is my purpose? For me, I was trying to figure out what is the meaning of life. And it's probably been a journey that's, been going on since I was in my 30s. And every so often I get a little snippet that brings me that little step further. And it's not about being, that all great man sitting on the mountaintop, because I think life it's about a personal, individual journey. That's what life is about. So for me, it's those small steps of where I said earlier on, it's about, if I knew now what I knew 10 years ago, like even what I knew 2 months ago, what I know now, is building that foundation. And one thing I realized When we are born, we take our first breath. And then when we die, we take our last. And the in between should be a place of good experience and living in a high vibration and learning how to die.
Learning how to do that. Joe, you say that your purpose is to understand about life, right? And am I listening to it correctly?
My own life, not life, but my own
Oh,
life.
all
It's a,
right. So there could be other purposes, like like learning about the moon, the deep sea, or anything else. But I'm just curious to know why is that understanding about your life is so important to Joe that it making it a purpose for you to understand about it.
I said there that we have, people, the biggest questions that people ask, what is my purpose in life?
Mm,
I don't think people realize that they have many purposes in life.
mm,
You know, you may have a purpose, and then when that purpose finishes, you go, "Oh, what am I going to do now?" And people don't celebrate their wins. They just keep pushing, "What's my purpose?" or "What's this?" because they just don't celebrate their wins. And for me, it was really sort of just a feeling, a curiosity that I wanted to have a deeper understanding of life itself. Because if you think about it, a lot of people never really stop or have the opportunity to take a step back and look at life because they're just running on the the treadmill, running. And I'm blessed that I was able to stop for a moment, get off that treadmill, and look at it and go. A question that and that's funny, a question that I had from when I was in my 20s. Life is meant to be easy. What are we doing wrong that it's not easy? And I think that was the beginning of little drops that I started to look at. And you know, like even with meditation, I don't meditate. I can't meditate. I try to meditate. But I know that I need to meditate. And the reason why I know I need to meditate is because of frequency, the frequency of the energy within our body. And some people meditate and they light candles and they sit there and they're going, "Oh, I've meditated and I've got the smelly candle and everything is wonderful." But meditation is just being quiet and looking, going within for a feeling. And that could be walking, could be swimming, could be playing with the kids. But it's a sense of just being who you are and to be the best person that you can be. So as I look into my life and look at later on in life, it's not about what I want, and it is about being content, but it's about, I wonder sometimes, is it about fulfillment? Is that the next, where I sit on the porch and I look out into the valley and I have my cold beer and I there and I go, yeah, life is good. Life is good.
mm. Wow. Joe, you mentioned that in your 20s, you asked a very big question. You say life is meant to be good, right? But what did we do wrong to make it not? And that is a very, very big question. And I think that is where the whole journey of experiment and wisdom comes after. And I just wondering, where did that habit coming from? Where did that, like behavior of asking big question gave birth into yourself? Where did it come from?
But I think I've always asked questions.
Mm.
So, um, in my 20s, I was a workaholic. So 20 to 30, 7 days a week. The only time that I would take a holiday would have been at Christmas. So in December for 10 days, and the rest of the year I'd work. And joyful, great time, best time at that time in my life. We all remember our 20s. It was, partying. For me, it was, fast cars. Remember being in a nightclub in um, Lake Tahoe and buying everyone in the bar in the club a drink because I could. You know, and it was kind of going, oh my God, this is mad, but I'm working all the time and enjoying, and it was just a question. Life has to be easy. Like, it wasn't a question just for me. It was a question that life has to be easy. Why is there so many people out there that suffer? Why is there so many, winners and losers? And what is it that makes us be better? And I think that then you go back into your childhood and look at what were the triggers subconsciously that we may have in our childhood that is in our subconscious mind that may affect us as we go older in life as well. And then seeing those silly habits that you may do, or the ego, or other things, I'm kind of going, okay, let me start to respond to my actions instead of react to them.
Wow. Wow. And if you compare the two lives, and the life that leading by reacting, and the life is leading by responding, and if there is one biggest benefit that you want to share with other people, the audience, what would that one thing is, Joe?
Trust
Trust.
and believe in yourself.
Hmm. Why is that becoming the first thing come out of your thinking?
Because I think trust is important. I think we live in a world where people are no longer authentic and they're doing things for the sake of the doing because of social media and, likes and clicks and all the things they perceive they should be doing. And I think honesty, trust, integrity need to be the founding stone for each person. So trust in yourself. Trust you're doing a good job. Trust that things will get better. Trust that you are on the right road. Trust that everything that you do, you're doing it for the right reason. And
Beautiful.
knowing that there's people out there that are psychopaths, ego, and one thing that I think for me, and I think that this will, a lot of people will maybe resonate with this: envy. Envy is a trigger for a lot of things, and people, they may see you have an amazing podcast, and they are envious of your podcast, and or they may see you being successful and they're envious of that. People need to kind of go, why am I envy? Let that go, because that festers, and you need to be able to recognize those feelings and push them to the side.
Wow. Being able to recognize our feeling and put them aside is also adjust our thinking at the beginning. So don't let those ideas to come to our head. So we will not be able, to sit there for you to take it out, right? You would lead into our next question. And because we only scheduled for 1 hour, Joe, do you have additional time for us to talk a little bit more after that?
About another, I'd say about 10, 15 minutes. Is that okay? About 10
That
minutes?
would
10
that would
minutes.
be wonderful. I just have 2 or 3 more questions for you. So I note down in here you mentioned the word think. I think numerous time, so at least more than 5, 6 times. Okay. And my wife and I, we are on the quest. We have been on the quest to help people to improve our ability to think because we believe that for any transformation, it starts with us and it starts with our thinking. Okay. And you are a great thinker. We always enjoy conversation and listen to your advice, your wisdom. So, Joe, share with us how have you been growing your ability to think over the years?
If I stop thinking,
I stopped thinking. Wow.
stop trying to figure it out, and I'll keep pulling back to feelings. You know, you mentioned there that, yourself and your wife are looking about thinking and how do you improve things. We visualize things in our mind. So you can see colors, you can see pictures. When you see the future, you see a picture. And that picture will be an image of how you perceive it to be. And it can be positioned on the left side or the right side, or it can be in the head or wherever it may be. And you kind of look at these and go, okay, this is where I want to be. And this is how it looks. How would that, if I got that image and brought it into my feelings, how would I then, instead of thinking of this would it be, but pulling it in into my heart, into my chest, into my body, and how do I feel about it instead of thinking? So I go back to try to stop thinking about things, which I'm learning to stop because I've realized that I live in my head. And I'm working at the moment in a process of pulling those visual expressions from my mind and pulling them down into my heart and looking at the negative talks, which is could be whispering here, squashing them and throwing them away visually, pushing them so far back they don't exist.
Hmm.
But looking at that creative and going, okay, what do I need to do? How can I be better? How can I be invincible? How can I be, that person that stands tall and achieve what I want to achieve?
Amazing. Amazing. That leading to the very big question, Joe, is taking action. Because one person may be able to read so many help book, self-help book, may be able to read so many theories out there, many models out there, maybe listen to thousands of podcasts, but they don't do anything. And that will help them to have the experience, which is accumulating to becoming their wisdom in life, right? So for you, how can you know, listen to those ideas, think about those ideas, and have the strength and the courage to make them become something actionable and have a tenacity.
I'll tell you something which is quite weird. I've been doing podcasts and interviews since 2016. and I've stood up on stage and I've spoken to hundreds of people, and thousands, could be 60, 70,000, probably 100,000 people have heard my voice talking about leadership and sales and business. And the one thing that I had an issue with or couldn't overcome was for me to stand in front of a camera like YouTube and speak to the audience without someone on the other side. So in all the years, there's had to be someone like this or someone there. And I knew that I needed to break through that I can turn on my camera and just speak into it and be done with it. And that was a fear that I had. So I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to let that affect me anymore. So in a short time, I did one video. Then I did a second, and the confidence built. And then I did a third one. And now I'm doing a video blog every day of about 2 minutes every day. I'm going to do a video blog on YouTube every day about something about sales or business. And I pull it back to, if someone wants to run 10 miles or 10K, they have to run 1K first. Then they have to run a second, and then a third. It just doesn't arrive and happen. And, you said to me, how do people do this in short time? It's like the duck swimming and the feet underneath it. That's life. But we all have war wounds, and we all have scars, but we need to not let them affect us. So for that change, you need to one step at a time. And that's like visualizing, it's like a tin of paint, and you have a screwdriver and you're just prying it open. And you have to open it to pour the paint out and show those colors.
Wow. 2 last questions, okay? One, I want to go travel time with you a little bit. So if I can bring you to that bar at Lake Tahoe, where you buy everybody a drink, and you pull yourself out of that bar and you told yourself something about the future, about something that Joe now have a message to Joe then. So what would be the message that Joe now would love to talk to that Joe then? And what do you think he's gonna respond?
Well, I think I'd look back on it and laugh, looking at Joe in that nightclub. I'd laugh and I go, look at you, you crazy lunatic. Having fun, not a care in the world. But you could have spent that money on something better. And yeah,
and
could have been, and I'd pull him aside and I'd say, don't let your ego run away with you. Don't run away with your ego. But eventually you'll get to where I am.
So that's the journey, right? So that is experience the journey. Yeah. And the last question, and I think this is very important also, because you are the man who asks a lot of big questions for yourself since young age. And I think it's a very, very good habit that you have, that we want to bring that habit to our audience. So just curious to know what kind of questions, or big questions, that Joe is asking himself daily now.
None.
None.
If at this moment in time, I'll ask myself the question, what time are you going for a walk with the dog? But I'm at that stage. I'm not asking myself questions. Maybe I'm reviewing what needs to be done. Because I know that everything will work out. I know everything is working out. And I know that you have to trust just to let it know that will play out in your favor. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way, because when we block it, we affect the outcome. So, what questions? I've no really big questions. I think I've just let's get on with it. Let's get on with today. And like with my clients that I deal with, one of the benefits which I found was I asked them great questions in their own business, which helps them unearth or be better of what they can be or what they need to do as well. So yeah, I do enjoy questions, because I think that we process and find way. And that question, the answer to those questions could be a feeling or breakthrough or whatever it may be, but it starts with baby steps.
Joe, every time that I read your sharings or the having conversation like this, time flies so fast, and I think that I have so many more questions I want to learn from you. I want to ask you, and that we benefit not only our audience, myself definitely will be benefiting from responding and receiving the insight share from you, the wisdom from you. And I really appreciate you spend your afternoon joining and sharing a lot of beautiful things that for many people who listen to this conversation will have to relook at, how they think, and by the what is their head, what's in their heart, and what matters in life. And especially, when you say we practice the pause between our breath, right? And if each of us out there can practice the pause between our breath and respond instead of react, how beautiful this world will become. Joe, thanks a lot for bringing so many powerful insights to these conversations that help us to become better people. Thank you.
Perfect end to a show. And thank you for asking me on again. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my friend. I'll be seeing you in Vietnam in the 5 years time, but I hope it's going to be coming sooner than 5 years. Okay, my friend.
We'll buy that bar a drink.
All right, Joe. Have a wonderful afternoon. Say hello to your family for us, please.
Take care.